All right, it's 8 o'clock. We are live. You know what's going on. Watch this. Hold on 1 second. I want you to see something before we start the show. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. Yours truly here. Papa Goat is in the house. I hope if you're on Facebook right now, you need to stop scrolling. And if you're watching us on YouTube, well, there's no scrolling on YouTube. I always say that. So you need to watch this. So today we have a very, very special guest, played in the NFL. And we have the opportunity to be sitting with him today and really talk about his career in the NFL and what he got going on now. What was his mind like? How did he actually make it to the NFL? And you're gonna actually have an opportunity to hear this. And what I want you to do, don't just keep this video to yourself. You need to share it with your friend, any little boy you think that's out there trying to dream to make it to the NFL. That's definitely a conversation he needs to listen to and what to expect. So today, without further ado, let me bring the guest here, Isaiah Johnson. Isaiah, my friend, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. First and foremost, thank you for your time. I know you're a very important person, and you take your time out to be our guest here. And you are the only the number one NFL interviewer we have on the show. And by the way, I'm planning on having way more, and even getting into the NBA, getting into tennis, whatever it is, because this show is all about the diversity. And it's all about the conversation we can have to add value to our community to know that, you know what? Listen, anything is possible. You know what? You want to open a business? It's possible. You want to play in the NFL? Don't stop dreaming. It's possible. So, Isaiah, tell our guests a little bit about you, of your background, and where you come from.
Right. First off, I just want to say, James, I really appreciate you having me on this show.
Of course.
I've been watching the last few shows you've done with my good friend Julian and your last partner, and it's an honor to be on here, man. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah. So getting into myself, for everybody out there that doesn't know me, first and foremost, my name is Isaiah Johnson. I was born and raised in Montclair, New Jersey. I have three brothers, and I live with my mother and father. And we grew up in Montclair, New Jersey, and we moved, I want to say, to Piscataway, New Jersey when I was about 7. So I've been going back and forth in Jersey a little bit. And, you know, we're all from Jersey. My parents been living there their whole lives. And, I've been in Piscataway, I want to say, for about 2 years, 3 years. And we ended up moving from Piscataway, New Jersey to North Carolina. And, my parents were just like, they're ready to get out of the state of Jersey, man. They've been there their whole life. It's 4 of us, 4 of my brothers. And, they want to try something new for us. So we ended up moving in 2007. And I ended up doing the 8th grade year there at West Cary Middle School in Cary, North Carolina.
Mm.
And, I had great memories in Cary, man. I've been there in 8th grade. And after that, I went to Panther Creek High School, which is right there down the street from West Cary. I went to Panther Creek for about 4 years. Panther Creek was pretty new at the time. I think they opened, I want to say 3 or 4 years before I got there. I can't remember the exact time, but I had great memories there at Panther Creek, man. I've been there all 4 years. Played basketball and football there.
That's
Two
what's up.
sport athlete.
Okay. Okay.
Been on been on varsity, those 4 seasons for both sports. So, I had a great time at Panther Creek, man, like I said, and I made great, great memories with the coaches, players, staff. Still to this day, I talk to people on Facebook. Wayne Bragg, who was my head coach, I talked to him a lot, and I talked to the principal, at the time, sometimes through text on Facebook and stuff. So, it's a nice camaraderie that we have there at Panther Creek, and I really appreciate those people there that helped me every step of the way. Um, I'm not going to get into too much about my career at Panther Creek. I don't know if they want to hear that football and basketball, but just know, yeah, I had a hell of a 4 years in both sports. One thing I
That's
did
great.
want to touch on. Um, so going into my junior year of high school, I want to say a 2-star at the time. I had offer from Navy, and I had an offer from what was that school? It was another small school. in high school, but the biggest times of my life was then my junior year in high school, because I was getting recruited by about 4 or 5 Division I schools, and I can remember vividly University of Connecticut and University of Arizona State were on me heavily, and they were like, "Man, look, we'll give you this scholarship if you can maintain your grades and keep your ACT scores, SAT scores high, and have it translate with the core GPA." So at high school, I don't know, I think they stopped it now for the high school kids, but when I was in high school back in 2011, it's a scale called a sliding scale, where you have to maintain a certain core GPA, and it has to match with your SAT or ACT score to be able to be eligible to get into that school. So, long story short, man, I still think about this today. Long story short, I ended up taking my SAT, ACT score, and on my correlation for my score for my GPA, my core GPA, I think it was like a 2.7, 2.6 at the time, but I needed an 18 on the ACT to pass. So, those 2 days were very, very nerve wracking. Man, I was in my room please, God, take care of me. I want to play Division I football. That's all I've been thinking about my whole life. So, of course, the score came back, and I got a 17. So I was a point short of receiving a Division I scholarship. So, of course, I had to let those coaches know, and it was a heartbreaking moment for me, man. I'll never forget. I was in my room, crying, talking to them, talking to my brothers, and it was very, very heartbreaking. But I ended up committing to the University of Western Carolina. So a guy by the name of Arcata Banks was recruiting me from there, and I ended up signing there as a wide receiver out of high school. So I ended up going there because the Division I AA level is not as strict with their sliding scale. So Division I is very, very strict with it at the time. So I ended up getting an opportunity to play there for Western Carolina. And now here comes the fun part, right? So I'll explain it to it in a short version, because it's pretty long, my college career. But so out of high school, I committed to the University of Western Carolina, right? And I went in there. I want to say, I think it was the fall time, so I went in August, and I went as a wide receiver. So, going into Western Carolina, it was a major culture shock. I don't know if people have been there. It's in the city of Cullowhee, North Carolina, and it's in the mountains, so it's like the western part of North Carolina. So, right off the back, it was a culture shock, man. I went in there, I'm like, dang, is this where I want to be? My 4 years, not any disrespect to the University of Football program, but it wasn't the right feel, the right fit for me. I just didn't feel like I was happy there. And, I got the opportunity to play there, and I played some wide receiver. The first game, we played Georgia Tech. And shoot, I was a kick returner at the time, and I had a kick return, and I took it back. I want to say like 30 yards, and I try to make a move, and somebody clipped me on the back of my knee, right? So, at the time, I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm like, all right, this ain't bad. I keep playing. But then when I walked over to the sideline and my adrenaline slowed down and I drank water, I noticed something was off with my legs. So I went to the trainers and I told them, and they checked me, and they were like, man, you tore your PCL. The PCL is the muscle behind your knee. And, from then on, they just told me to sit. So I ended up sitting, the rest of the season, didn't play the rest of the season. And I was granted a medical red shirt. So a medical red shirt is where if you're hurt, you're able to get that year back in college, depending on if they want to keep you back. So that was a blessing and opportunity for me. So basically that whole freshman year that I had didn't even count for me. So, I ended up, obviously transferring from there. It was one of the toughest moments of my life because, the guy, Arcata Banks, I got really close with him, really tight with him, and he was my coach. He's my receivers coach, so he was the first guy to tell. So at the end of the season, I waited and I did spring. I did spring training and off-season winter conditioning with Western Carolina. So how that works is your season goes from like August to about, I think it was to about like December or November.
Okay.
And we didn't go into playoffs. So, we had a quick turnaround. So right after the season, then we had 2-3 weeks off, and then we had Christmas break. But then right in like January, you come back to that winter conditioning. So I came back and I had a knee brace on because, obviously I didn't fully recover. And I remember coming back, and I remember coach calling me to the office, and it was like, Zay, man, like, can you play some safety? Like, can you play defense? I know I seen your high school highlights. Can you play safety? Of course, I'm like, yeah, I can do anything on the field. I felt like at the time, so I told him, yeah, and then they ended up transitioning my position over to safety,
Mm.
right? So I ended up playing safety there, and the whole spring. So I came in as a wide receiver, and then I moved over to the safety, which is on the defensive side of the ball, and I ended up playing there all spring, and I did pretty well. I cracked the starting lineup at free safety, and I've been doing that ever since
That's
with
good.
Western
That's
Carolina.
good, man. That's good. And now learning just a little bit about your background in high school, and so that kind of give me a little bit more insight on how your mindset works. So now the thing is, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, man, and there may be more questions coming based on how you answer some of them.
Hmm.
But people want to know right now, as you know, have you when you was a little boy, being a little
Hmm.
boy growing up, and was the NFL something you always look at, like, you know what, I want to play in the NFL? Was that always it for you, want to
Hmm.
play in the league?
No, man, it wasn't. It's funny because when I was young, I was an NBA guy. So I grew up in Jersey, playing on the streets every day, hooping. That's all we did in my neighborhood. And, I always had dreams and aspirations of playing the NBA. So
Mm,
how that went for me was when I was about 10 years old, I started Pop Warner, which is like a little league football league towns usually have. It's
mm-hmm.
called Pop Warner Football. And I started there. And I didn't say this earlier, but man, I was about one hit away from quitting football. Like
Really?
we were doing a tackling drill, man, and I was here. It's called an angle tackle drill, where you have one line running the ball and one line tackling,
Hmm.
and the object is to get to the point, and you guys meet up, and obviously you got to either tackle or you can get ran over, one or the other. But that was just mental toughness. That was physical toughness. That's the point of the drill. So I was tiny, one of the smallest kids on the team. And I was like one of the lightest kids on the team. So I ended up doing a drill, and I had probably the best running back that I went against. His name was Michael Patterson. So I ended up going, man. We ran, we collided. All I remember, bro, was boom, and then my head jerking back, and I just like I was seeing stars. Like everyone was like, "Say, get up, man! Come on, get tough, get up." I got up, I went and woozied off, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I don't think this is for me." So I went to the back of the line. They was like, "Johnson, go again." I was like, "Nah, I'm not trying."
Like, I'm done. I'm
All
done.
right, all right, forget all that. So I'll never forget, man. After the practice, I told my dad, I was like, "Dad, I don't want to play football no more, man. Like, this is not for me. I just want to focus on basketball. I see myself being an NBA player one day." So he was like, "Nah, Zay, like, listen, like, don't give up on your dreams, aspirations. Like, all these officials, these staff, the guys that work in the Pop Warner League see high potential in you, at a young age, and they're like, man, like, they can be something." Like, and eventually I gave in and I listened to him, and obviously it worked out for the better. But to answer your question, yeah, growing up, man, football was not. It was never in my mindset. Like, I just love basketball. Basketball is still my first sport. It's my first love. But
Mm.
yeah, so
That's one thing I didn't know. So, like, all
yeah.
joke aside, man, you think you can take me 1-on-1 on basketball still? Like,
What?
hey, come on, man. Like, you ain't gotta answer me
Look,
like that, bro. Like,
look, James. Look, James. This is all I'm gonna say. I feel like everywhere I've been at, every place I've been at, I feel like I was the best basketball player on the team. That's all I gotta say.
really,
Yeah.
really.
Every stop of the way, Pop Warner to rec leagues, all the way to the NFL, I felt like I could have been the best basketball player. That's how confident I am in my basketball abilities.
Man, that's what's up. I guess I should have never asked that question, man, because yeah, I still want to take you 1-on-1 though, by the way. I'm still up for the challenge, so I'll make sure there is no camera to record the score
Yeah.
unless I win, but it's all good. But now my next question to you, man, and this is, I'm hoping everybody's watching this video see value in it. My next question to you, tell us about that phone call, man. When you received that phone call and it's like it rings, you pick it up, and it was the call you was waiting for from the NFL. So go back to that moment and tell us
Mhm.
about that call. How did that call make you feel? What was that moment like for you?
So yeah, let's go back, man. 2016 was the year that I entered the draft, and you know It's funny, man. I had crazy story about that too. But entering the draft, man, I played at University of South Carolina 2015, and I was able to play there the whole season. So I went from August all the way to December. So that was over with. And funny, man. So thinking back to that moment, I ended up leaving and entering the draft in 2016, and I went down and trained by myself, which a lot of people don't know. I ended up training by myself and my good friend Julian, and my other friend Sean Adams. I went down to Orlando, and I was like, man, you know, right now in my life, like it didn't. My college career it was nice, it went well, but towards the end, when I left Kansas, University of Kansas, and I transferred to South Carolina, it was a major decline for me in terms of my politics, I guess you can say. I didn't really have a lot to my name, when I left. So a lot of people were writing me off at the time, and including my agent. So, I had to take steps on my own hand, and I ended up trying to train down there in Orlando by myself. But, days like that, man, I don't regret it because of where I am now, but I could have done better. I could have put more forth effort into that. But going back to then, I was training, like I said, my good friend Julian and sometimes with my friend Sean Adams. But we trained for about all the way until March, and then I had a pro day, and the pro day is where all the NFL scouts come out and they watch you perform. They do testing on you to see your abilities of how you've been training and how you can help their team out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all I remember from that pro day was my numbers were horrible. They were horrible, man, and it really again put me down even more. My draft status. So after that, after the pro day, man, I knew in my head I just knew it wasn't a good outing for me. Making it to the NFL. So in my head I was like, it's either I get blessed off my film or productivity, or from college, or I probably won't even get a shot in the NFL. So draft day came, and it was in April, late April. I think it was like the 23rd, and all 3 days went by, and I didn't hear my name called. So I ended up going undrafted. And the day after, I got a call from one of the personnel guys over there at Tampa Bay. So he called me. He was like, "Hey, Isaiah, you know, we really like who you are. We really liked your productivity and your game, and we want to bring you in as a free agent. As an undrafted free agent." So, DB coach John Hoop called me right after and told me the same things, and immediately in my head when I got that call, I was like, really? Like, dang. Like, y'all gonna take me after my 40 and all my cowboy results, man? I'm like, that's a blessing right there, man. I'm like, my film definitely took over in that moment and saved me on that. So, I ended up going there, and it was just an ecstatic moment, man. I was very, very, very excited, because that whole time from March, the end of pro day till the draft, in my head, I was just so depressed because I'm like, man, like, my college career didn't go as I wanted after I left Kansas. All the politics went away from me. Everyone was writing me off. I didn't get any invites to the combines. No, what is it? No, not bowl games. They're like all-star games that they have for players, like for seniors and stuff, like the Senior Bowl or other bowls that they have to showcase their abilities. Like, I didn't hear anything. So in my head, I'm just like, man, this got to be the worst times of my life, man. I was just doubting myself, being hard on myself, telling myself, like, man, I just don't even want to play football no more just because of how it went. Then, of course, when I got that call right after the draft, man, it just my whole face just lit up, man. I was so happy. Told my mom and parents, my mom and dad, and they were happy. Told my brothers they were happy. Told my friends they were happy. And from there, it was just meant to be the way it was, And to answer your question again, like, that was one of the best moments of my life, like uplifting moments of my life, coming from where I came from those past few months. So,
Man, like I mean, thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
And like I'm always gonna keep saying this. I hope somebody's watching this. Maybe today, maybe next year, maybe next week, whatever. 20 years from now, even when Papa God is no longer here, you watching this. I hope you remember this call. And I mean, it make you feel some type of way. My next question to you is walk us to your very, very first week. So you received that call and, you was very, very happy. So now it's time for you to actually show up.
Hmm.
So walk us through that showing up and what was expected of you. How was that? How did that process go?
Right. So as you see the smile on my face, it
Yeah.
was crazy. So how it went was, they call you and they schedule the rookie mini camp. So the rookie mini camp for me was, I think it was like May 7th, like that week after the draft. I think they give players like a week or whatever to, get ready to come in and compete. So they called me, they flew me down. Everything's all paid for, all paid expenses. They put you in a hotel. Again, you're there with what? It's like 60 other players that are in your same position, the drafted players that were on the team and the undrafted players that they signed. And, it was crazy, man. I was in there. I met a lot of guys, a lot of friends that I still have today that, were kind of in my similar position.
Mm-hmm.
And some obviously took care of business in college like they were supposed to. So, they heard their name called and stuff and were drafted. And, it was just moments like that I'm just like, wow, man, I'm really in NFL. Like, I've been watching NFL my whole life, since what? High school, like middle school, high school is when I first started watching it. From then on, I'm just like, wow, man, I'm really here. Like this is really like I'm really here. Like I can't come in here like this is a game, like this is a joke, or I'll be going quick. So, my mindset at the time when I was in there was, look, Zay, like you went undrafted. I honestly didn't know how the NFL worked until I want to say after my rookie year, but at the time I was like, okay, well, I know, there's a 53-man roster, there's a 90-man roster to start off going all the way till training camp. And after training camp and after preseasons, they got to cut it down to 53, right? So I knew I was like, all right, well, what can I do to make that 53-man roster, And it was crazy, man. It was a crazy journey, crazy experience. My rookie off-season year. I went through the rookie minicamp. I did well. And I want to say the NFL, the welcome to the NFL moment when I was like, okay, this is strictly a business. Like the NFL is a corporate, business. It's not what people think. Oh, players just come in there and, they're just playing football. Like they're just having fun. They're living their dreams. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it's a very, very strict business. And I figured that out when, so rookie mini camp was 3 days and I think it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So on Friday, we went over there. We went out on the field. We worked out. We did all the special teams drills, offensive drills, defensive drills the whole day. And, I was chatting up with my friends. And then Saturday came and we went back in the locker room. I looked over and I'm like, yo, have y'all seen such and such? Like my friend. And they was like, nah. And everybody was like, yo, what happened to such and such? We're like, we don't know. So this is what tripped me out. So the guy that comes in, he's basically we used to call him the Grim Reaper, but the guy that comes in, it's a cutting process. So we think, okay, at the end of rookie minicamp, that's when they're gonna cut down the roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every single day, every single minute of the day is a cutting process. Meaning, so the coach, so you're always getting evaluated every single day. So walking through the halls, whether it's walking to get food, whatever, stretching, whatever you're doing on the field, off the field, you're always getting evaluated. So I first figured that out when they cut my friend a day after rookie minicamp.
Wow.
So it was Saturday, and I'm like, yo, y'all seen him? He's like, nah. And then we seen the guy that comes in and makes the cuts. He came in with his clipboard, and we see him cut somebody else in front of us. He was like, yo, such and such, come with me. We're like, huh? Like, what you mean come here? So he went upstairs, and he was like, yo, bring your iPad. So they give you like the big iPads that have like your playbooks and stuff. So he was like, bring that. So he was like, huh? So he came back, and then we seen him go pack all his stuff. And he was like, all right, fellas, like it was good knowing y'all, it was good seeing y'all, but my time here is done. And we like, what?
Wow.
You just got here, bro. So that's when I figured out, okay, this is real. Like this is nothing to play with. The NFL is nothing to play with. You got to be in and out every day. You got to be a pro, man. You really got to be a professional at your job. So, as days went on, Saturday and Sunday, more guys were getting cut. And I'm like, dang, bro. And, at the time, I had a whole lot of anxiety. So all I was thinking was, I'm next. So I'm like, please. I'm like, God, please don't let them cut me, bro. Not in rookie minicamp, man. that just seems it's hurtful, man. It really sucks when you see your friends, having to leave because of whatever the reason is, like whatever the reason is that they let them go. But um, I was fortunate and blessed enough to make it through rookie minicamp, and then I did all the OTAs, which OTAs is like all season training activities, I think it stands for,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when the whole team is there. So it's not just the rookies. Now they're implementing the whole team, and I'll never forget, man. That first day that we had to come in as rookies, and everyone, the whole team was there, like the guys that had been playing for the Bucks. I never forget, man. Jameis Winston. We had our initial walk in. We were walking into the facility, and all you see is Jameis just dapping everybody up. He was like, "Welcome to the team, man. Welcome to the team, Zay. Welcome to the team, rookies." And I was like, "Dang, like that's I respect that, man." James, man, he was a good friend of mine, and I'll never forget that moment, man, as a rookie walking in and seeing him dapping us up, and actually walking into the locker room and actually seeing guys that you looked up to when you were kids.
Mm.
You see guys like Brent Grimes, like a lot of older guys that were there. I'm just like, dang, I'm really like in the locker room with this dude right now. Like Mike Evans, like a lot of you know high rep name players in the NFL were in there, and for me, it was like, okay, I can either act like a fan or I can, try to take this really serious and one day hopefully become like them. So for me, I just switched my mindset and I was like, man, I can't come in here and act like, you know, I'm getting babied or like, it's too much for me. I'm just so happy to be here to be around these guys. Like I got to take this as, this is my one opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
to be who I want to be. And, that's what it was like for me. It was a fun time. It was a fun moment, man, back there in Tampa my rookie year. So
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Now, knowing that, okay, now you was in the NFL, you're playing, you got to do what you got to do. Now, as any athlete and any businessman as well, there is something that's going to suffer along that way, and not to say fully suffered, but there have to be some sacrifices that's been made. So now,
hmm
as you were playing in the NFL, and I know you mentioned your dad earlier, he sounded like he was very supportive. Now, as you were
hmm
playing the league, you're spending all this time out. How were you able to balance, your family life and the game as well? Share that with us.
right. So for me, I come from a really, really, really strong foundation family. So my mom and father, Mary and Chris, they brought us up, really, really strict on, basically being living your life as a professional. Doing the right things, always staying out of trouble. Being that role model to younger and older people in life. And they done a great job grounding me and my brothers. So for me, it was sort of an easy transition because I always stay in touch with my family. I'm always talking to my mother and father, my brothers. So it wasn't really like a barrier between that. So to answer your question on balancing it out, you know every day, or not every day, but sometimes excuse me, every day I would call them and text them and let them know how I did. And I know my dad was a real football guy, so he'd always be on the Bucks websites, looking to see
Like, that's
looking to
my
check
boy
on
right
me.
here.
Yeah. Right, so he'd always be checking in, always making sure I'm staying on top of my myself. So it was an easy family football transition for me. And they always been and always still, today have my back and always will. And those are great people to have in my life, my whole time. So it was an easy transition in
Got
terms of playing and balancing, talking to them.
got you. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. Now, I'm just going over some of the important question I wanted to ask you.
hmm
So, say I'm watching this right now. I'm watching this video, and I'm in high school, senior, or I don't know.
hmm
And it's like, man, my dream is to play for the NFL.
hmm
I wanna really play for the NFL. And I know your story. It's like basketball was your first, but God actually blessed you for you to be to play in the NFL. So now, what would you say to a young man in high school today that daydream is to play for the NFL? What are some of the things they should expect? What would you say to them?
Yeah, so the guys that are listening now or whenever, the guys in high school, middle school, guys that have real aspirations of making it, to the NFL, the biggest thing I tell you guys right now is just to try to stay patient and consistent in doing the right things. So when you have, I know guys, I've been in their position too, so I know they're hearing it all the time from their coaches, their parents. Stay out of trouble, make sure your grades are good. Which is very, very crucial in high school, and make sure you just hang around the right people. And those three things, like, they really come a long way for you down the line. Like, it's so hard as a high school kid to just comprehend all that every day, and balance out school, going to practice, being that high level, high athlete kid, and having to be that role model to everyone else, all the other kids in the school. But the biggest thing I tell them is just try to, every day that you come home, try to meditate and try to focus on doing the right things every single day. Because if you can tune your mind into that process and that journey for you will be a lot easier that way than others. But that's the biggest thing, man, for high school kids. Is just it's a time when they're trying to figure out and learn themselves as well. But I just tell them, just stay consistent and stay very, very patient, and don't get too overwhelmed with all the success you have. Because as I know and every other player knows that played, high school level is one thing, but when you get to the next level, it's another. And you don't want to go in there with a big head. You don't want to go in there acting like, nah, bro, I was an All-American in high school. Like, nah, this is, BS that, I'm not starting here. I'm not playing like this, or whatever the case may be. And the biggest thing and way to overcome that is, to focus on yourself and focus on, meditating and staying patient and just believing in yourself, and that'll help you stay humble and help you control your emotions and stuff. But, that's the biggest thing I tell these high school kids nowadays, because it's tough with all this social media. It's like everywhere they go, it's like, it's Snapchat, it's TikTok, whatever, YouTube. It's always limelight on them compared to when I came up, back in 2011. But, it is a little harder for these kids nowadays. But, they gotta, be their own mentors. They gotta tell themselves every day, like, look, if I really want to get to where I want to get, I got to stay focused on building myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to tune out mom, dad, brother, sister, best friends, girlfriends, whatever, that's what I got to do, because I know it's going to take me to the level and, to the next level. But yeah, man, that's the biggest thing I would tell them, is just stay focused on yourself and learn how to meditate, man, because that comes a long way. It sounds corny, but it really comes a long way for kids nowadays. It's meditation.
And I'm glad you brought up meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I remember waking up at 3, 4 in the morning just to meditate at one part of my life. And I think, especially in our community, I don't think people value that enough, or pay enough attention to the value of meditation, and if you're watching this, do your own research on when it comes to meditation, how important it is to meditate, because this is when you learn to actually understand yourself. This is
Mm-hmm.
when you learn to actually start paying attention to your thoughts. Where does your mind go to when everything goes quiet? And it's a great
Exactly.
exercise to do, especially if you want to be great. And I remember, the late Kobe Bryant talk about meditation as well. Rest in peace, Kobe. It's such an important role, like an important things to do. So I would never discount that. So I hope this give you enough of influence to go start meditating. It's a beautiful thing. Now, one of the last question I have for you, right? Word in the street. Word in the street is that Isaiah Johnson actually went vegan. Now, let me tell you about being vegan. Like, I remember going vegetarian for 3 months, and I had to quit. Like,
Oh man,
I
come on, Jay.
remember, I
Come on.
remember going trying to go vegan. Like, I have to say try, because yeah, you don't fail until you actually stop. That makes sense. But I remember how hard it is to actually go through the process. Now, you going vegan for a little bit now. How has that experience been for you, and why did
Mm-hmm.
you decide to go vegan?
Right. So I'll start off with the why. So to answer your question with the why, it was 2019. I'll never forget this day, September 4th, 2019. we got done with our last preseason game with Tampa Bay. So, you know, I didn't end up hearing what I wanted to hear, but in the back of my mind, I kind of knew I was going to hear it just because of how I played, through the OTAs and where my body was and where my conditioning was and how I felt and stuff. So, what I mean by that is, through OTAs and through training camp, like I said earlier, you're always getting evaluated. So everything you do, whether it's your body, your weight, your speed, your movement ability, whatever it is at your position, you're always getting evaluated. So I knew coming into my fourth year with the Tampa Bay, which was 2019, that offseason, I was like, man, like, I really got to change my body. Like, I've been hearing it all 3 years in the league from my friends, Keith Tandy, Josh Robinson, them boys would be on me every day. Like, Zay, like, you weigh too much, bro. I was probably 215s, 220s range trying to play safety in the league. And that just didn't work out for me. And, what saved me was my ball skills, my ball skills and my, my smarts for the game, and stuff like that. But, the biggest, most important thing in the NFL is your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's being an explosive athletic player every day, day and out. Like, you have to make sure off season, in season, that you have, you feel at your best, you feel light, you feel mobile, you feel explosive, because that's what these guys look for. That's what these scouts, personnel, whatever, GMs, they look for those type of guys too. So that's one thing I didn't have coming in because I didn't take that serious enough, and if I go back to what I told you about in college when I was training, I had probably one of the worst diets ever as a football player. I'll never forget my high school coach used to call me a human garbage disposal.
A human garbage disposal.
He used to be like, say, like, how are you eating honey buns and candy before a game? I'm just like, bro, like, it's easy. Like, I'm making plays on the basketball court. I'm making plays on the football field. It's like, I'm going to continue to do this because I like it. But that was the biggest thing I regret, man, is my diet, man. And to go back to it, September 4th was cut day. So, they've been cutting guys. I think September 1st. I'm sorry. It was, I think it was like August 27th in like that 3-day period. And I remember September 1st, I got a call from, who called me? the coach over there at Tampa Bay. He was like, hey, Zay, we appreciate what you've done, but we're ready to let you go. So please meet us up in the office and bring your iPad. So again, I had in back of my mind that this is probably gonna be my last time here, and obviously, it happened. But when I went up there and I talked to the coaches, how that works is, you go up in the office, you say bye to all the coaches, the GMs, and at the end you go talk to your position coach. So I went and talked to my safety coach, and he was honest, and I could only respect honesty. And he was like, man, honestly, like, the other four guys, because usually each team keeps about 4 to 5 safeties. As I told you earlier, with that 53-man roster, they got to break it down and they got to have a certain amount of numbers for each position. Mm-hmm. So, I was the odd guy out. He was like, honestly, if we would have kept 5, then you would have made the team, but they didn't. So, he ended up letting me go. But, in the back of my mind, I'm just like, man, I know why I wasn't at fourth. It's because my body and how I move, and little stuff like that. So, that was one of the hardest times of my life. And I realized and remembered that September 4th was actually the day I went vegan. So 3 days later, that whole transition period, I'm like, yo, like, why is my body not, working? I changed my diet a little bit. I stopped eating a lot of foods. I try to, cut down on this and that, but it never really worked for me. You know what I mean? And it never really got my weight down. It never had me really feel light and mobile. So I was like, I did research and I was like, yo, I got to find something that's going to really, really help me change my body, not just for football, but in life. So, I found that the vegan diet was the best. And I never forget watching Game Changers. If you guys haven't seen that, y'all should go watch it, man. It'll help you switch.
Game Changers.
Yeah, Game Changers. It's a show on Netflix. I don't know if it's still up there, but it's about a guy, I think it's an MMA fighter, and he kind of went through like a whole documentary spiel on athletes from all different types of sports that are vegan athletes. And it showed how, how your performance can be better, how your body will change, just all, positive things about your body. And that moment for me, I was like, yo, that's it. Like, this is what I want to do. So, for me, a lot of people ask me today, like, Zay, like, how did you make that transition? Like, how can you just go from eating terrible to literally probably one, the best diet on the earth? And I'm just like, honestly, man, what made me do it and what made me stick with it and be consistent was failing, and knowing my failures, getting released. So in the back of my mind, I always kept that every day. I'm like, yo, like, I can't go back to eating bad because I'm going to end up having that same body I play with. So, to this day, still I'm vegan, and it's been, September 4, 29, since 2019. And, I'll never change it just because of how I feel now and the way I move now and, just what it's doing for me, as a person mentally and physically. And I knew from that day, man, that, that was it. Like that was probably one of the best decisions in my life,
To go
going
vegan.
vegan. And I knew that, it's funny because I'm like, dang, well, it didn't let me go. Would I ever really went vegan though? You know what I mean? Would I ever change my diet? But, I don't want to say it's a blessing because I got released, but, it was a blessing in disguise. Like that was for sure a blessing in disguise because if I made the team that year, I don't think I would have ever really changed my diet,
Change your diet.
From then on. So that's when I went vegan, and why I went vegan was on that day. And, from then on, I'm just, I'm trying to stay consistent and stick with it. I mean, it's easy for me now. The first couple of weeks, it was a little hard, but what kept me going and, what kept driving me was the fact that I knew that, if I go back to eating like I used to, I'll be the same person I used to. So I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I want to do. So I knew that going vegan was the right route for me.
That's what's up, man. So, which means you listening to this, listening to Isaiah right now going vegan. Hey, listen. Hey, that's all I'm saying. You want to go vegan? Watch the Netflix show he mentioned. But anyway, now Isaiah, I didn't tell you this, but I have one last thing I want you to actually think. So I'm actually going to play a video as you are answering this question. So it's a beautiful game, and it was you guys was going against the Steelers, I believe. And here you are about to catch a beautiful pass. Look, you know where I'm going with this, and I'm gonna be playing the video as well. Here you are.
Why you going there with it,
Hey man, listen,
Oh,
cause we
man,
gotta have
you
fun
really
with
do
it.
with it.
So
I hear you, bro. Go
listen,
ahead.
it was a play, and I watched this play quite a few times, and I want you to go back. Tell us how what was in your mind? Like, how did you feel when that play happened? And for you guys who's listening, you're gonna be watching this video. Zay won't be able to see it because he's doing an interview, but he'll see it after. But
You got me crying, bro.
Listen, it was actually a beautiful play. But tell us, go back to that moment playing the Steelers, and you were catching that ball. Like, what happened there? What happened?
Okay, so for everybody that's watching that didn't know, that hasn't been following the season that year, all I can say, man, is that it was a wild play. And what happened was, it's funny because that was my first play ever on defense, out there in the regular season. So I think it was like third and long or something. And they were in like a 22, 23 personnel. And they had one wide out, like AB was out wide. So we were playing like a single high coverage, and I was in the middle of the field. And all I can remember was like looking over at AB because I'm like, all right, well, they're probably going to throw to him because he's singled out by himself. So I kind of looked over there, and then I peeked back, and I see the tight end right down the middle. I was like, oh, shoot, nobody has him. So I chased him. And then instantly I kept looking at him. Then I see him look up, and I looked up, and then Ben threw the ball. He threw it so hard and far, man. We was just running, and I wasn't even, bro, I was so tuned out, bro. I was just like, okay, this might be my first interception. Like, I might really pick this ball up in the league. So I was running. I was only tuned in and focused on the ball, bro. So I was running. And I was like, and 2 seconds later, all I felt was just a brick wall, bro. I hit the wall, and my whole body jerked. And, thankfully, it was only a shoulder injury I had on my shoulder. And, I had a little concussion, minor concussion. But Yeah, man. I mean, plain and simple. I was too focused on the ball and I ran into the wall, bro. so so that really it barely happens. I'm not even gonna say it happens to everybody because that barely
That
happens.
barely
But
happens.
that was my first play on defense, and I was just my nerves were going. I was nervous. I was like, dang, like I'm really out here, like what I'm saying. We're playing, cover whatever coverage we're playing, and all I was thinking about was I don't want to mess up. I don't want to get embarrassed on TV. It was a Monday night game, and I don't want to mess up. And of course, something even crazier happened. So yeah, it's a moment I'll never forget, man. It always be there. People always remind me about it. They always joke with me like, bro, like, what were you thinking? Like, how you not see the wall? Like, and it's just little things, but
You
the
you
biggest
was
thing was
extremely
just
focused. Well, I mean,
yeah,
listen,
it's too focused. I guess you could say.
it's all good. But it's a very interesting video, and I wanted to show viewers. Now you watch it just so we can add a little bit of humor to this, But you had a great career in the NFL. I think you did 3.5 years in the NFL. Now, for Isaiah, what is next right now? What do you have going on, and what is the future looks like for you as we speak?
Right. So as everyone sees, I have my own LLC brand. It's called Zagent. Oh, wrong side. It's called Zagent. Right now, what I'm doing with Zagent is, um, I'm just doing a lot of uh, out the line business work. So I have two business partners. My best friend Julian Johnson and a guy by the name of Terrell, who's have really been on me about what's after football. Say like, how can we expand you? How can we expand your brand? How can we grow? How can we become wealthy? And every day we have these group chat talks, and we're always just communicating about what can we do in the fields that we're working in. And right now we're doing life insurance and real estate. So two biggest things with that is how can we grow? How can we help others? How can we expand? How can we educate others on the importance of life insurance and real estate, as well as grow ourselves as well. So every day, we're just in chats. We're trying to do deals after deals in real estate, and with life insurance, we're trying to tie it into the IULs, and helping families out, and people that we work with, whether it's athletes, professional athletes, high entertainers, people that have a lot of wealth in their pockets, or not. But that's the main thing I'm focusing on right now. I also have something going on. I'm still playing. I've been out for about 2 seasons now, and trying to transition back into the league was probably one of the hardest things for me, because I haven't, I've been hearing, stuff from, teams, teams that tell my agent like, hey Zay, like, we're interested in you, we'll give you a call if we want to work you out on NFL teams. But, through that whole year and a half span, I haven't heard anything from teams. Like, I haven't actually had a workout. So for me, it was, okay, am I going to sit here and be depressed? Am I just not going to do anything? Am I going to, you know, spend all my money that I have, go out the country, whatever, folks do? Or am I going to focus on building myself, building my wealth and my brand while I have this time off from football? So that's all I've been doing, man, ever since 2019. Me and Julian we've been just growing the business, growing our brands, and we've been fortunate enough to get a lot of work done on this field. And a lot of people that don't know that's listening, this guy James right here, I actually met him through Julian, um, through the insurance thing. But James is a really, really, really good guy, good friend to me, and I respect him for everything he's been helping me and Julian on the way with. And I'll never forget that. But to go back to the football route, I've actually talked to my agent a couple of days ago, and oh, I didn't mention this either. So back in February of 2020, I had a CFL team reach out to me, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and they wanted me. So I ended up signing that contract there. But going into that last September in 2020, their season was canceled because of COVID. So COVID ruined that season, that whole thing. So I didn't end up going out and playing in Canada. So they either gave me the option to opt out of my contract, or they gave me the option to stay with the team all the way until, they get their league back up and running. But I chose to opt out because, I was hoping that I'd get picked up by an NFL team. So I ended up canceling my contract with them, but I haven't heard anything yet from NFL teams. And right now, they called my agent. My agent talked to the GM over there, and he just asked me if I was still interested in playing, and I was like, yeah, of course. But I told him I was gonna, weigh my options and let me decide what I want to do sooner than later. So I'm gonna let him know soon about what I want to do. But yeah, I'm still definitely interested, man. I love the game of football. You know, when I get back out there, I'm definitely gonna be a different person. Just because of that year and a half change with that vegan diet and what it's done for me. To my body. So yeah, so really it's just football. Maintaining my body, working out, and just business. We're pushing away, we're hunting away with this business stuff. So I plan on getting my website up and running soon, and I plan on just expanding my businesses as best as I can. So that's what it's looking like for me right now. It's just traveling back and forth from my house in Tampa, and seeing family out here in North Carolina, and just maintaining, working out, staying in shape, and keep my mind open on business and keep my mind grinding with business. So that's how it's looking for me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, appreciate it for sharing that with us, Zay. Thank you so much. Now, before we go, I always ask, I like to ask my guest, what is the last message you want to say to our viewers right now before we go?
The last message I want to say to you viewers right now is, if you're not vegan, go vegan. No, I'm playing. No, but I just want to say, for the people that's viewing this, obviously you've been watching James, and you've been watching his episodes, and we really appreciate what you're doing, James, and we want you to keep going and keep building your brand as well. But for the people out there again who's watching, just make sure that you're listening to the key points that he's saying on this in every interview, because there's a lot of stuff that you can take in your life. There's a lot of stuff that you can hear something like, oh, okay, well, let me try to apply that to my life. You know what I mean? And these interviews are great on what he's doing, because you're getting a chance to better yourself as well. So just continue to listen to his podcast, man. He's doing a great job, and we really appreciate that, James.
Man, Zay, I cannot thank you enough, my brother. This has been a great conversation, and I'm looking at as we speaking. There's a lot of love, a lot of light going on my screen. You probably won't be able to see it, but a lot of people see value and they really enjoy this conversation we have. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being, our guest on our show today. Until next time, my friend, we hope to see you again. We hope that's not, the last time you come to the show.
Of course, no, I'll be back very, very shortly.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Bye bye.
All right, James. Thank you.